Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by the McCune Charitable Foundation. And the Nieper Natural History Programming Fund for KNME-TV. And viewers like you.
This week on New Mexico in Focus, Our Land explores a forest management collaboration in northern New Mexico.
We're a collectivist culture where the group is more important than the individual.
And the power of images to tell a more complete story of the struggle on the U.S.-Mexico border. New Mexico in Focus starts now. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm your host, Gene Grant. We've got a wide range of offerings for you this week as we all wrap up what was probably a shorter work week. Now, it was a year ago this summer, the streets of New Mexico erupted in protests as the Black Lives Matter movement kicked into high gear. We'll talk with an expert about why the power of peaceful protests is still so enduring. We'll also look at how a New Mexico native and now a university professor says her upbringing played a role in her academic work, which is focused on better understanding New Mexico's history of colonialism. But up first, the power of imagery to tell complicated stories. Roberto Rosales is a photographer with the Albuquerque Journal. His work spans everything from college sports to crime scenes, and for decades it has also included covering the U.S. border to shine a light on the personal stories of people crossing into the U.S. seeking safety and economic opportunity. Correspondent Laura Paskus spoke with Rosales about why his images can help us all better understand immigration.
Roberto, welcome back to New Mexico in Focus. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you cover everything for the Albuquerque Journal: crime, sports, civic events. How long have you been covering the U.S.-Mexico border?
I've been covering the border for about 20 years, 2 decades, started in 2000.
And what have you seen change the most over that time?
I think, in those days, in the first 10 years that I covered immigration, it was really hard to get somebody to actually witness them crossing. It was really hard to find something like that in the desert. You had to find very strategic points along the border, especially around New Mexico. But today, with this asylum crisis, if you could call it, it's everywhere. You see them everywhere. Their attitudes, perspectives are changing, and obviously everyone's just trying to come across. Whereas before, you also saw a lot of Mexican immigrants coming, and today you hardly ever see any. They're mainly just from Central America, Cuba, Haiti, and northern South America. So big shift there.
Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of why those changes are happening and how that changes what's happening right along the border?
So the Central Americans, for instance, they're really starting to migrate, mainly because of all that violence that's happening, the gang violence. And I think that's the number one reason for them coming across. Here's a perfect example. Family from Honduras, unaccompanied minor from Central America. This is what you're seeing. They don't have an option to stay and maybe hopefully things get better through diplomacy. They either have to leave or either join an organization, crime organization. So it's kind of hard, and that's what I'm seeing more along the border. That's the biggest change. Everyone that's coming here, they're coming because they're running away from something. Yes, they obviously want a job, but the difference now is survival. It's not that they're looking for the American dream or a better way of life. The number one reason is survival. And that is the biggest change from now, since when I started working. Everyone I spoke to in the first 5 or 10 years of covering the border, it was always about, well, I have family in the States. I'm going to go work there. I'm just, trying to look for my American dream. And today, there's no such thing. Now I just want to be alive.
So
big difference.
There's a lot of political rhetoric in the United States, in the state, about a security crisis. But what you're talking about sounds to me like a humanitarian crisis.
It is a humanitarian crisis. I mean, not only are Central Americans running away, but also one of the biggest factors that is influencing this crime wave in Central America is the cartels that are in Mexico. They're starting to branch out throughout Central America. So now you're fighting gangs and you're also fighting the cartels. And then, of course, if people do the research, the cartels are being, I wouldn't say funded, but they're being given arms that are almost strictly coming from the United States. And as they're trying to make human smuggling a business, they're branching out into El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala. That is just a double whammy, if you will. But recently I was in Juarez at a immigrant shelter, and I noticed another factor that's happening, and recently, and that's climate change. People can no longer farm. I met a gentleman from Honduras who lost all his crops. There was a natural disaster, a hurricane, but also in talking to people from Guatemala, they don't get the rains like they used to. They can't harvest coffee. So when you combine that with gang warfare, you only have one choice. You got to come up north. And again, that's just survival.
So one of the things in your images always that I always wonder about is how people who are afraid for their lives, afraid of getting caught, how do you take these images? How do you meet people and photograph them?
You know, it's I have this connection with people, I guess, that you know, I'm an immigrant myself, and I think I understand what they're going through. And I give them space. I give them the time to not feel, you know, threatened by me or my cameras. I take the time to talk to them. And a lot of the times, they want to be heard. If you take the time to listen for 5 minutes, to them, it's like a big relief, and I sense that. And, you know, you want to photograph folks in a very humanizing way also. And so I strive to do that. But yeah, for some reason I have had this connection with folks, and, you know, I understand what they're going through. You know, I'm an immigrant myself. So I think that also plays a big part. I don't just point cameras and shoot whenever I want. It's a very meticulous process, very slow, but it can be rewarding at times. And again, we're telling their story.
So the border is such an important part of New Mexico, but for those of us, like we're sitting here in Albuquerque, it can sometimes feel like a distant place.
Yes.
What do you wish that all New Mexicans better understood about the border itself and what's happening right now along?
You know, I think I look at the border as the ocean, like high tide, low tide. When the border is like the high tide, coming in and going back, and low tide. But it also it's a wonderful place, and it doesn't have to be marred by violence and people trying to come across. These are two nations that are trying to coexist, and it's not. We look at it as almost like a black and white issue too. Like, look, they think that just because you live on the other side, you want to come over here, and that's not the issue. If given a choice, most people would not come here. You know, you don't want to be separated, and I think separated from your family, and people, I think, tend to forget that. Nobody's trying to take your job. Nobody's trying to take advantage of the system. You know, survival is one thing, but everyone has the right to a better life. And the border just doesn't, it should not represent just death, destruction, separation of families. It's a lot more complicated than that. But it's a strange part of our culture, I guess, and people don't really understand that just because you live on the other side of this fence now, like, you shouldn't have to stay on that side, and I don't have to stay on this side. We can join hands, join ideas, and coexist in a better way. Share all these experiences. It's a complicated issue, but it's also a beautiful area. It is an amazing area where so many things happen. And then, like in this photo, these are all men from Mexico who are trying to come across the border and who are leaving their families. And this is just in a border town across from New Mexico. This is in a town called Las Chepas, which is about 15 miles west of Columbus, New Mexico. And this is the day where they're trying to come across. And every time I spoke to them, the whole time they wanted to talk about was their families, their kids. Everyone has photos of their kids. And, the border is just this place also where stories are being told by them, by me, by so many others.
So when political leaders say things like, don't come here, it sounds to me like for me, like I wouldn't want to have to leave my home and my family.
Well, I think it's easy to say that from being here in the U.S., but unless we address the issues, the root issues of why people are coming, save your breath. This is going to continue. And unless we help these countries combat gang activity and narco activity, this is going to continue. This has no end in sight. And in fact, now that you're adding climate change, I think it's going to increase. Mm-hmm. So I fear for what's going to happen. But with the increase of numbers coming across, I think it will still paint everybody with the same brush, and I don't like that.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention something about this image. This is what the U.S.-Mexico border looked like back in around 2005. This is where the Trump wall was built. It was near Johnson Farms in New Mexico. But back in those days, this is what the border looked like. And these gentlemen are waiting for to get darker so they can come across. And none of them want to stick around this area. They have families in California, Florida, all these other places.
We were down at the border almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and now the wall is 30 feet tall, steel bollards. How has that changed how people...
Well, it is more difficult to cross in this area. So what it's doing, especially in the boot heel of New Mexico, the most southwest corner of our state, is pushing everyone towards the Chiricahua Mountains along the Arizona-New Mexico border. And that terrain is treacherous. And there are also areas along New Mexico, like the Peloncillo Mountains, that due to geographical constraints, you couldn't build the wall over that. But it's forcing all these immigrants to take a more dangerous trek, if you will. But also, now you're grouping immigrants who want to come for a better life or, just to survive, and you're grouping them with drug smugglers, because those are the preferred routes for the cartels. The Peloncillo Mountains and the Chiricahua Mountains. But also nature, habitats, they're being destroyed. Species are not being able to cross back and forth. So that's something that gets lost in this whole talk. And I think that's another thing that we need to address.
So how is New Mexico's shared border with Mexico a little bit different from, say, policies or how migrants are treated than in, say, Texas or Arizona or California? Are we different?
I mean, I think we're different in the sense that we don't have all the options that people have, especially along Arizona and Texas. When you cross into New Mexico, you're often met by ranchers who are very anti-immigrant. So there is another obstacle. You have boundaries by the mountains, ranchers who are against immigration, and you're more in an open area. You can't hide. You don't have an urban environment to hide in, like you would in maybe El Paso, let's say, or somewhere in Nogales out of Arizona. So you're kind of sitting duck when you come through New Mexico. And I think a lot of coyotes, human smugglers, promise that they are going to take immigrants across Texas or Arizona, and a lot of these immigrants couldn't tell the difference. And because it's easier for smugglers to drop them off in New Mexico, this is what they end up doing. And most people that are dropped off in New Mexico are caught, whereas you can blend in other parts. So it's a lot more difficult. And so the numbers show it also. You know, Texas is way ahead, Arizona is way ahead.
So 20 years of storytelling along the border, meeting countless people over that time. What do you wish that New Mexicans better understood about the challenges that these people and these families face every day?
So, you know, I often look at the kids, the youth who come with their parents, and a lot of times the one thing that sticks out in my mind is like, especially with the kids, like that childhood is just being lost. You know, you have no roots that you can put into the ground, and a lot of their childhood is being lost. And I wish some people were more compassionate, you know, people who could make a difference. And no mother, no parents should have to be separated from their kids. But it is such a treacherous journey. I'll take a look at the Cubans, for instance. The folks that I've talked to in Ciudad Juarez across El Paso, for them, for some, it's taken them a year and a half just to get to the northern border. And they get separated along the way. And so how do you reunite that? It's just an incredible journey that they take. And, you know, I don't know that if I had a kid that I would take that chance. But I see a lot of women who have failed to come across, but when they see that their kid may have a chance, they're willing to risk that, even if for them means going back. But their kids can go on and maybe find a better life.
Roberto, thank you so much for the work that you do and the stories that you tell, and for being here with me today.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. And thank you for talking about this matter, which is so important and dear to me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We also recently had the chance to talk about the fine art of photojournalism with Dean Hanson, former photo editor at the Albuquerque Journal. He recently retired after a long and storied career that spanned more than 3 decades here in New Mexico. There was no way we could fit all of his thoughts and reflections into one show, but luckily he stuck around in studio with senior producer Matt Grubbs to share some extra stories and a few of his favorite images.
Dean Hanson, recently retired photo editor of the Albuquerque Journal. Thanks for spending some extra time with us. As we thought we might during the show, we ran out of time to talk about some of these images. What is it about shooting everyday scenes that you so enjoy?
Well, there's a lot going on in the world, and there is a whole lot more good and decency than there is ugly in the world. Unfortunately, in the news business, we tend to bring you the ugly. I need to remind people that it's still pretty good out there. The things that we aren't dwelling on that are tragedy are normal people just going on about their normal lives. And I find that fascinating.
Sure, and a privilege to have a paper. These aren't just photos from your personal collection. These are things that ran in the paper, you know. So there's clearly value to that.
Well, and we're so lucky here in New Mexico and Albuquerque and having a newspaper like the Albuquerque Journal. It doesn't belong to a chain. It isn't owned by a corporation. All the decisions made for this newspaper are made in that building on Jefferson. That's why we're only accountable to the people. We're not accountable to shareholders. This is why we get to do things with photography that's a little different than other newspapers. And I'm really thankful that we still have a place for this kind of photograph in our newspaper.
Absolutely, absolutely. Obviously, we're all thinking about the COVID-19 vaccine, but this is the simple flu mist that for kids this age goes up the nose, unfortunately.
Yes, and this was an event. I don't know if it was put on by the governor's office or what, but I mean, here you just wait for your picture. When kids this age are going to get something shot up their nose, I mean, how easy is it?
Right. That's terrific. I love that one. This is one that you pointed out to me. There are a lot of elements to this.
Yes. One of these women is a breast cancer survivor, and the other is her friend who supported her. I'm not going to tell you which is which. They're just so full of life and so beautiful. One of them had this mural, I don't know if you recognize it, in the backyard of a phoenix rising. And you meet people and spend time with people like this, and it just makes you feel good. It fills your tank. It replaces everything that is drained away from the negative.
Sure, absolutely. I can certainly see that. And then we have another one here. So this is one, as we transition into our court phase, there's humor to be found everywhere.
There really is. This is Dr. Patricia McFeely with this, what was it, the Office of the Medical Investigator. And I'd photographed her on the stand with her, dummy skeleton numerous times, pointing at things. But that's not funny. Homicide trials aren't funny.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you see her sitting in the hallway waiting to testify, you're finding some humor in a difficult situation.
Sure, yeah, it's that human side of people that we may not think of. This one is interesting because this is right at a verdict, right?
Right.
Okay.
This is down in Los Lunas when the killer of Rio Rancho police officer Nigel Benner was convicted. And these are his fellow Rio Rancho police officers. I was sitting on the bench in front of them looking at the defendant. And then when they read guilty on all counts, I swung around with a different camera, with a wide-angle lens, knowing there'd probably be a reaction behind me.
Sure, sure. Boy, that is a tough, because you're right there, right?
Yeah.
That's, man, that is a ton of emotion. This one,
This is, I'm still not sure how this came together. It was a video arraignment. You can just see him on the TV of the person accused of a crime. And this is the aunt of the victim. And for some reason, she came over the rail and went after someone. These are really tough situations where on one side of the courtroom you have the family and friends of the victim, and on the other side of the courtroom you have the family and supporters of the defendant. And there's always stuff going back and forth, and security does a really good job, but occasionally the emotions just get too much for people.
Sure, absolutely. This one we talked about during the show, but worth mentioning again just for, I think, regardless of how much attention you pay to the news, there's probably always that one kid that you can think of and that one crime. You know, and it just seems to play out again and again and again. It
does, and it's, I don't know, I guess people don't learn lessons from others' misfortunes, but 30, 35 years, you hear these crimes, then you hear the hunt, then you hear the arrest, then months later the trials that go on and on and on.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. Absolutely. So here, you've taken your fair share of animal pictures. I'm certain. This one I love.
Well, this was a day I was going to go the Ladd Wildlife Preserve south of Berlin. And I thought, well, this is going to be a bust. It's overcast and gray. Because usually when you're going to go do birds and wildlife, you want beautiful sun and blue skies. Well, this way it worked in my favor. Somehow the light dissipated, the fog, and it lit them from all sides, and you could see detail, which you normally wouldn't see. So I'm pleased with that. It was hard to tell that last one, catch up, but okay, you'll have to do.
That's right, exactly. This one, I know a lot of us have seen pictures of Klein's Corners, but probably not like this.
Yeah, for some reason we had hoarfrost, and I stopped at Klein's Corner, and as I got out of my car, I saw all these, I guess they're crows, because you wouldn't see ravens together like that, but for some reason they just belonged on that tree, and they spaced themselves out in a good way.
That's terrific. The biopark assignment, I'm sure, is
yes.
one that
When the Tasmanian devils first came in, I mean, they're lovely creatures, and he's not quite as in focus as I'd like. But the teeth are sharp. When they get angry, their ears turn bright red, and they hiss. And I mean, how can you not love a creature like that?
That's fantastic. So good. Oh, this one is great. So this I thought was a picture of a painting.
Yeah, no, this was just an experiment in a studio. I had never done this before, and I wanted to try. I did it in total darkness, opened the shutter, and then I used a small pen light and painted around the flower. Anything lit was hit with light. What's dark didn't get as much light, but it was a really fun technique to do, something a little different. It gives a kind of a three-dimensional quality to the photograph.
Absolutely. So did this run in an arts guide or a special section?
Yeah, it went with our I want to say our spring home and garden section.
Okay.
We did. I think I did 4 different flowers this way.
Oh, fun.
But I like the tulip the best.
Yeah, that's a terrific one. Our last little bit that we'll talk about here, obviously, is fire, which is going to be a big part of life, I would imagine, here in the next few weeks for us all. This is Las Conchas?
Right. And the fire is burning down Los Alamos Canyon from via Caldera. And they're just keeping an eye on it to see, is it going to come through Los Alamos again? And thankfully it didn't. But the interesting, this is a perfectly adequate picture of the forest fire, but then I looked and I saw another picture in there. His knee pointed right to it. And I just can't get over the beauty of a forest fire. I know they're supposed to be destructive. This to me looks like almost a good forest fire. Things aren't flaring, the ground is clearing. And I think it'll come back even stronger in this case, but I just loved how the smoke and the haze came together in that picture.
Sure. You were telling me that the ones that most often make the news, whether that's the TV news or the paper, are the ones with flames.
Right.
But after the flames are gone, there is something there to be seen, for sure.
There really is. And it's just the ethereal beauty of the smoke and the haze and the layers you see in front of each other.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You have to acknowledge a forest fire can be beautiful.
Sure. Well, the last thing I wanted to get to was this idea of being photo editor, which you were for your last years at the Journal. During the pandemic, how did that change the way you operated, your concern for your photographers, that sort of thing?
That was a big change when it came basically out of nowhere. I mean, we are shooting the state high school basketball tournament, and the next thing you know, they're playing it without any people. I think it transitioned. We saw a few masks, then it went completely away, and then the question became, how far is this going to go? What are we going to do different? My biggest concern was keeping the photographers safe. They had to be out in it, working in it every day. So we kind of developed our own little bubble within the department. I switched schedules so they would come in at different times and go out at different times, so there'd never be three of us in the office at the same time. They took vehicles home. Everywhere they went, we were constantly checking in. I would say to them, you know, here's what I'm going to have you do, or this is the visual possibility. Are you comfortable with this? I told everybody, if in any case you feel the least or at any amount in danger, just walk away. And we had Roberto Rosales went out to the Navajo reservation. Eddie Moore worked within the actual emergency rooms of hospitals. And we produced some pretty amazing work for a staff our size. I'm very proud of the work they did. Now we're fully immunized, and it's like this, we've gone through a gateway and everything has changed. So now we can see life come back to normal, and we'll see what comes next. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and it sounds like you're probably not done. You have some ideas for things at the Journal, and
well, you know, it's kind of interesting. In the past, the photo department kind of tracked the web. We were on kind of parallel universes, and with my leaving, they're integrating the photo department into the actual web so that there will be better use of photographs. We have such a talented staff. You need to remember that newspapers are the ones that are paying to produce the news about their communities. Facebook has made a fortune monetizing the work of newspapers, much to the detriment of newspapers. So it's really critical that people subscribe to the Albuquerque Journal, abqjournal.com. You'll see our photographs. A lot of work that doesn't get in print now is on web in forms of galleries and slideshows. So if you've always liked the photography in the Journal, there's a lot of it. And please look at our pictures.
Well, Dean, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for spending all this time. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It's time now to head outside the studio as we bring you another episode of the award-winning series, Our Land, New Mexico's environmental past, present, and future. And a heads up, you can now find all the Our Land reports on all the top streaming services like Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Now this month, correspondent Laura Paskus takes us to the Carson National Forest in northern New Mexico to learn about a creative and collaborative approach to handling forest management.
I'm Laura Paskus, and for this month's episode of Our Land, we visited the Carson National Forest to learn about a different type of forest management that's based on the acequia system. It's based on tradition and culture and meant to help the forest and the communities who live right next to it. A few years ago, J.R. Logan looked out across his backyard in San Cristobal in northern New Mexico. It was getting on toward fall when he and others who rely upon wood to heat their homes drive hours to other parts of the forest. Then they pay for U.S. Forest Service permits to collect wood.
It just made no sense to me sitting in my valley that I would have to go so far to get firewood, when looking literally out of my back door, there's a beautiful stand of ponderosas where the undergrowth has grown in thick and poses a huge risk to those trees and to my community and to the watershed. And I thought there just has to be a way where I can, make it possible, where we can make it possible for me and my neighbors to be able to cut that wood, which is incredibly valuable to us as firewood and is in our own backyards, and at the same time make our community and our watershed safer.
Logan met with elders and leaders in his community.
Traditionally, we're a collectivist culture where the group is more important than the individual.
They got to talking about how to create a forest council and structure it as a community development project. They talked about acequias, land grants, and the long history of participatory democracy in northern New Mexico.
The governance, instead of creating a new system of governance, let's use the old ancient institutional forms of organization that we've had here for centuries, 300-400 years. And that is, the distribution of water has had a very appropriate and very successful governance system. The land grants also have had a long history of governance, very democratic, very participatory.
Parciante is what it's called, parciante, when it comes to a ditch. A parciante is a person that has a piece of land that needs irrigating. So they needed a mayordomo to oversee that.
They worked with the Carson National Forest, wrote a grant proposal, based bylaws on acequias and land grants, and they created the Cerro Negro Forest Council. Here, there are almost 300 acres of pinyon, juniper, and sage forest lands between the villages of San Cristobal and Valdez that need to be treated, thinned, so the forest is healthier, so it's closer to how it was before the U.S. government implemented fire suppression policies.
Our project in particular is designed to remove fuels that otherwise would really ramp up and supercharge fire behavior were we to see a fire occur in this area.
When the U.S. government stopped letting forests burn, they became overcrowded with smaller trees, all competing for water and sunlight and becoming additional fuel for wildfires, feeding them, along with drought and rising temperatures, to burn hotter and bigger than in the past.
This isn't a restoration project like you might see in Ponderosa Pine, where we're truly restoring an ecosystem to a place that it was millennia ago. Rather, this is restoration for the benefit of people, but also the benefit for the environment, in the sense that we're preventing what would otherwise be an uncharacteristic fire, especially as we see, the climate getting warmer, hotter, and drier over the long run.
The Forest Service and the council divided the forest here into 1-acre blocks and assigned them to leñeros, or woodcutters. Trees to remain are marked, and the others can be cut. A mayordomo oversees the work, and leñeros can use the wood at home or sell it, and the council pays them $300 an acre for their work. That's less than what the Forest Service pays contractors. And although the work can be slower, it's a model for other places too. Already, councils have popped up in southern Taos County.
My role in this is that I'm basically the leñero, the guy that cuts it and bucks it, takes it home, chops it up, and I use it for heating my home. It's my source of energy for heating back at the house. But I've been on this. I've already accomplished 3 1-acre blocks, and I'm currently working, just about finishing up my 4th. And I've got yet another one that I've been assigned that I've got to get started on and try to get that done before the end of the winter. Having to drive 15 minutes as opposed to 2 hours to get a good load of the best wood that I can say there is to burn Piñon. This is awesome. I'm really glad this opened up, because I was getting kind of worried about finding places to go get wood there.
For Logan and leñeros like Córdoba, their time in the forest isn't just about cutting wood. It's about connecting with the past and spending time with family.
sometimes I just come out here and just sit around. I work really slow, and I'm always looking for deer. Of course, now that it's so open, after they've cleaned this up, I mean, you can really you see more and of abundance of deer than what we used to in the past.
Historically, the relationship between the U.S. Forest Service and communities in northern New Mexico has been fraught, to say the least. The federal agency took over common lands when it was formed in the early 20th century, pushing people off their grazing lands and hunting grounds, requiring permits for wood cutting and pinyon gathering, closing access to the forests people had visited for generations. This council is a step toward healing, not just the land, but communities.
North side. I think the situation right now is really nice in this respect that we're working with the Forest Service. Forest Service is cooperating with us. We're cooperating with them, and things are getting done. In some cases, not in all cases, is where a family comes out, mom and dad, and they bring 2 or 3 kids with them, and they're all helping, and then of course they take their little breaks for their little lunch or whatever, which is amazing. It's like nice.
Being a leñero is hard work, but there's an art to it too, and joy at being home in the forest.
Well, let's say this. This in a sense is a rancho, right? Rancho de leña de piñón. So why don't we say, allá en el rancho grande, allá donde vivía, había una rancherita que alegre me decía, alegre me decía. There you go. From there on, it costs $1.
For Our Land and New Mexico in Focus, I'm Laura Paskus.
The impact of last year's presidential election continues to reverberate today, as some state lawmakers and the U.S. Congress continue to debate voting access and integrity issues. We wanted to look back at an interview we did with Rachel Kleinfeld, a Santa Fe resident and senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Her research focuses on reducing violence surrounding elections, but she also spent some extra time with correspondent Russell Contreras to discuss the Black Lives Matter movement, how it played into what happened at the polls in 2020, and the continuing power of nonviolent protests.
Rachel, thank you for joining us for this Web Extra. We really appreciate it. You've talked and written about nonviolent resistance that can be the most successful drivers of social change if the message is broad and it appeals to enough people. How does the Black Lives Matter and the protest after the murder of George Floyd and the shooting of Jacob Blake seem to you through that lens?
So the tragic deaths of George Floyd and so many other African Americans in this country have, if there's been any possible silver lining, finally helped many other Americans understand the incredibly unequal justice that this country has meted out for a long time. And that is good, because what we see from overseas is that when you really have success as a social movement, you do 2 things. You have a broad base of people. That's about numbers, but it's also about crossing silos. So in our country, that would mean Black and white. That would mean Native American and rural and urban, and people who are Democratic and people who are Republican. The reason that that kind of broad base matters is that it's not just about numbers. In highly polarized societies, which is where you see that kind of highly unequal justice system, in highly polarized societies, if you have a narrative that only reaches your side of the polarized divide, your narrative will be dismissed by the other side, and you will not break through and you will not succeed. So what social movements have to do is create narratives that bridge those divides, and that makes them bigger, but it also means that they can be heard. And what we saw after George Floyd's death was, for the first time, a narrative about inequity and the problems in our justice system finally breaking through to many whites who hadn't believed it before. And that's a real source of hope.
Now, I was in Kenosha earlier this year, right after the city was hit with riots, and I could still smell the fire and when I got there. And I kept thinking about Milan Kundera's novels about Czechoslovakia during the communist occupation. And was hit with this existential crisis, this question for me, that sometimes violence is inevitable to fight systemic inequality. Is that fair? I mean, it's something that really struck me. Is violence sometimes the only answer to systemic inequality, to overthrow it? Or is that just a cynical view from our 20th century Marxism and capitalism's Cold War dichotomy?
Well, what the research shows, and here I'm drawing on Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stefan, who are really the most able researchers. Erica's now at Harvard and has gone on to do just a plethora of research on this, is that violent protest fails far, far more often than nonviolent protest. And she's categorized this across the 20th century, done the numbers, and she's also done the deeper research, the case studies and so on. And what she's found is that it's not just that it fails systemically, it's that it fails for a reason. And the reason is that as your protests become more violent, you lose that broad base that I was talking about before. So, I'm a mother of 2 kids. I believe strongly in a lot of progressive social change, but I also want to keep my kids alive. So if a protest becomes violent, I'm not going to go out to it anymore. And that's what happens to a lot of people. As violence starts happening, what you start getting is a shrinking of the people willing to protest. That shrinking allows the security services and also the people in power to isolate the protesters, to create counter narratives against them, and to arrest more of them, to silence more of them because there's fewer of them, and to create wedge strategies against it. So when you create violence as part of your protest, you lose a lot of not just the moral high ground, but the actual people who are enabling you to succeed. And that is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate particularly for people who feel so strongly about this cause that they think, well, I'll just commit some property violence. Because even property violence has this effect of polarizing and narrowing the other side. People feel property violence as violence against themselves in a certain way. So it's very important, and it's a very hard message for some people to take in. When people are angry, to be told that they're not allowed to use violence is hard for some people, but it's what all the research shows.
Are you hopeful for the 2024 election that we won't be as tense as we were this time around?
I think it'll help a lot to have a more moderate voice in power. But I would say I'm cautious about what happens in 2024. In my own research in other countries that have had a leader like Trump, which in political science parlance, we would call this an authoritarian populist leader. A populist because he's trying to appeal directly to the people against the institutions of democracy, basically saying, you don't need those institutions, come straight to me. I can sort of break the institutions and get things done. And an authoritarian because he wants to concentrate power in himself as well. And so that kind of anti-elite concentration of power message puts him in that category. When you see other authoritarian populists in other countries, what you see is either they win twice. That's what Yascha Mounk's research shows. They often win a second term. In the cases where they don't win a second term, you often get a centrist who follows. That centrist is not very satisfying to a lot of the electorate. The side that was on the side of the authoritarian populist is kept going by the direct messaging to the people, whether it's left or right, whether you're talking about a Chavez in Venezuela or a Berlusconi in Italy. That direct messaging continues and riles up the base. And the people on the side of the elected leader feel like they're not getting what they really wanted, which was a fire and brimstone fight. They wanted to bring the fight to the other side, and instead they're getting more moderation, often because of what we are likely to face here, which is a split Senate presidential, two different parties in power. And so they end up one-termers. And then what you tend to see is a bouncing back and forth between different polarized sides. So very right, very left, very right, very left. Italy perfected this by electing both the very right and the very left at the same time. And they got a sort of a single government that brought together their nativist party and their kind of far left party in the same government, which lasted for, in typical Italian fashion, just a couple of years. So hopefully we will get better. but the research suggests that is not incredibly likely, and that there's changes that we need to make to change that dynamic. I really think that the ranked choice voting that Santa Fe has passed, that's in a lot of other counties in New Mexico are interested in, holds one key, because it's a depolarizing mechanism. You don't vote solely for a Democrat or Republican. You get to pick your flavor of Democrat and Republican, and that allows for much more responsiveness to an electorate. And that kind of structural change, if it passes in other states and moves up, can help take these parties out of the hardest core, Trumpists and so on, and move them to something that's a little more reasonable.
Rachel, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
The Black Lives Matter protests from a year ago also brought to the surface New Mexico's complicated history of colonialism, something that is top of mind for many people this week as we celebrated the 4th of July. Now, back in October of last year, we talked about controversial statues that honor the legacy of Spanish conquistadors. One of our guests was Vanessa Fonseca Chavez, a professor at Arizona State University. Part of her conversation with correspondent Russell Contreras had to do with the history she learned growing up in rural New Mexico and how that impacted her academic work. We didn't have time for it in that show, but wanted to bring you those thoughts this week as they seem especially relevant.
Thank you, Dr. Fonseca Chavez, for joining us again. You grew up in Grants, New Mexico, in a Hispanic family. What kind of conversations did you have growing up about New Mexico's past before you became a scholar in terms of its Hispanic colonial traditions? Was this a conversation that you had on your family? Were you even aware of it?
Actually, I probably wasn't even really aware of it growing up in Grants. I knew that, I knew the Oñate had been in that area. I knew that, I lived in a former uranium mining boomtown. I knew that where I lived just outside of Grants in a double wide trailer off I-40 was previously the carrot capital of the world. They grew a lot of carrots in that region. The soil was, perfect for that. So I knew all these sort of little things about the region. In my immediate family, we didn't talk a lot about those things. My grandmother lived in Gallup, New Mexico, and so we often took trips to Gallup. And so I think for a lot of people in New Mexico, growing up in a Hispanic family, you tend to live these experiences rather than sit down and have deep conversations about them. So when we lived in, we had moved to Pojoaque when I was in elementary school, and it wasn't dual language programs that were in place. It was just, there was a cultural component to our learning. So once a week we would go to Senora Valdez's class, and we would, we would sing Spanish songs. We would write, and I have a little notebook from 3rd grade that says like, Así es Nuevo Mexico. And it's sort of this like weird compilation of my substandard bilingual skills at the time. And I'm like, una vez we went to go fishing and we caught un pez, so it was an attempt for us to connect with our cultural heritage, but in a way that didn't seem forced. And my teacher in 3rd grade, his name was Mr. Valdez. He was from Tierra Maria. And I remember him being in class with his guitar, singing La Bamba. And so we were always really immersed in the culture, but I don't remember having critical conversations about it. And it wasn't until I got to UNM where, like I said, I started having very visceral responses to what was going on around me. And I think that sort of determined what my scholarly trajectory was going to be.
Now, we were having a visceral debate in the streets in Albuquerque and in Santa Fe around these monuments. But what is it like in the academy with your work, from the Oñate Project to your current book? Are there scholars is the academy having these same visceral debates amongst themselves, or seems to be the direction that the scholarship is going around this debate in New Mexico and the American Southwest?
I mean, there's a lot of scholars that have been doing this great work. Michael Trujillo, Yolanda Leyva, individuals throughout the Southwest who are responding to these sort of colonial era statues and monuments. One of the conversations I was having yesterday, which I thought was pretty interesting, was that this is the work that we have signed up to do, right? This is our job. This is what we've dedicated ourselves to do the scholarship and the research that helps people understand the context of what's going on. Now, we're not community activists. Community activists have, a separate role, but there are also opportunities for, people who do scholarship and community activists to work together in different ways so that we can come to a better understanding of what's happening. It's difficult, like I said, to not be physically in New Mexico and viewing these things as someone who is interested in oral histories, ethnography, sort of looking, that sort of field work that is important to understanding the context, right? And instead you get to read what's been written in the newspapers, what friends have shared with you, videos that they share with you and ask you not to share with anybody else. So you do have some kind of context from being outside of New Mexico, but it's not the same as being a community activist. But I have to tell myself at the end of the day, you're not a community activist. You're a professor that works at an institution, and you have a different kind of activist agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Fonseca Chavez, for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Russ.
The conversation continues throughout the week on all of our New Mexico in Focus social media platforms. We invite you to join us wherever you tend to be the most active online: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram. Now, we're always bringing you additional content there, much like what you saw this week. And we also love to hear your ideas about issues we should be covering or people we should be talking to. We value and appreciate all your thoughts and feedback, both the good and, let's say, the more constructive comments. They all help us make a better show each and every week. Thanks again for joining us and for staying informed and engaged. We'll see you again next week in Focus.
Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by the McCune Charitable Foundation and the Nieper Natural History Programming Fund for KNME-TV. And viewers like you.